going on, everybody, and welcome back to some more Marvel Snap. Today I wanted to tell you guys 5 things that you might not know about the game that would be useful for people starting out. The first thing, and one of the more important ones, and one of the more simple ones, is claim your free credits. If you go into the shop and you scroll down here, and I've shown it in a couple videos already, but I really want to stress how important this is. Right here, you'll have a free 50 credits. It's on a timer cooldown, so I don't believe the timer kicks in until you actually claim your credits. So make sure you're coming in here and claiming your credits every day. Credits are obviously used for upgrading your cards. Cards upgrade your collection level, and your collection level gets you additional cards and resources. So definitely make sure you are claiming your credits as often as you possibly can. I definitely suggest checking the store as often as you can to make sure that this credit cooldown timer is going, and to make sure you claim them as often as you can. The next tip that I want to talk about is the home screen. Pay attention to the home screen. They've started showing these hot locations. Hot locations are locations that are more likely to appear on the board. So right now Washington DC appears more often, which has cards with no abilities get +3 power. If you pay attention to these hot locations, you can build a specific deck or tweak your current deck to play into these hot locations, since you know that these locations will be coming. So if you can play around this and use this as an advantage for your deck, you have an additional advantage in battle that your opponent might not have. The next couple tips we're going to need to be in game for. So I hopped into a game, don't really pay attention as much to the gameplay, as much as we need the gameplay in order to discuss some of those tips. So the next tip is play priority. So this mostly comes into play with things like Elektra, or if you know your opponent's going to play an ongoing card and you want to play Enchantress. The order in which those cards are revealed matters a lot. So if you notice here, my opponent has a golden outline around their name. That means that my opponent's cards are going to be revealed first, as you can see there. So if I was trying to Elektra his turn 1 play, I would be in a position to do that on turn 1 because I was going second for the card flips. So it's just an important thing to keep in mind when you have certain cards that you are trying to counter on the same turn. So like Enchantress, order of effects, Elektra, there's a whole bunch of destroyer, silence type things that you might want to pay attention to. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind, is whoever has play priority, their cards are going to be revealed first, and as you can see, it just switched over to me. Also, a bonus tip for this location, in case you weren't aware of how turn timer works, down here at the end turn button, this is actually the timer ticking down here. It can be a little bit hard to see at times, but just a very good piece of information to keep in mind. So that's it for these first 2 tips, and now we're going to hop into another gameplay for the rest. Tip number 4 I wanted to talk about was the information screen that you can see. Some people may not know this, but if you click on your portrait, you can see how many cards are left in your deck, in your hand, how many cards have been destroyed, and how many cards have been discarded. And you get the same information on your opponent, which can be super helpful if they have maybe 1 card going into turn 6. You know that they can't play cards at 2 different locations. Number of cards left in their deck, if you want to shuffle some rocks into there or something like that. There's definitely a lot of things to keep in mind, and a lot of good information that I wasn't aware of when I first started playing. So it's definitely something that you should keep in mind. And the final tip that I wanted to talk about today is ties, or how you may think ties are resolved. So in this situation, let's say, like here, my opponent is beating me 9-1 at this first location. I'm beating them 4-0 at this location. And at the third location, we're tied 0-0. So if the game ended right now, you may think, oh, it's a tie. We each own 1 location, and the third location's tied. 1 location each, that's a tie. It is not a tie. In the case of a tied amount of locations, the game defaults to margin of victory at those locations to decide the winner. So what that means is, since my opponent was beating me now 13-0 here, and I'm beating them 5-3, they have a margin of victory of 13, whereas my margin of victory is only 3, so if this was tied, my opponent would win for having the larger margin of victory. If you each have a tied location, and the third location and your margin of victory is exactly the same, then and only then would you have an actual tie. So, those are just 5 tips that I wanted to cover that you may not have known about Marvel Snap. As I get more tips, I'll make some more of these videos to make you guys more aware of some of the things that may exist in the game. But that's all I got for now, so thank you guys all very much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.